Hi, what's poppin'? It's your boy Big Rich, Queens, New York City, where we get busy. Ladies and gentlemen, come on in, wipe your feet on the rug, throw some smoke in the atmosphere. I just lit up some Purple Runts OG, unbelievable indica. It tastes like sugar candy. Let's get ready for some business. This next story coming out of Cosa Nostra News by my man Ed Scarpo. Salute and respect to you, sir. Let's get right into it. Violent crew ready to follow Huck's orders if the Gambino soldier is released, sources say. If Thomas Huck Carbonaro's compassionate release motion were granted, a crew of violent, prison-hardened felons, led by two Carbonaro relatives, would be ready to follow the longtime Gambino soldier's orders, sources tell Cosa Nostra News. They also discuss how some on the street view Sammy the Bull's recent podcast. The picture you see is the Gravano crew from left, Ed Garofalo, Lou Valario, Joe D'Angelo, Frankie Flap, and of course Huck. Carbonaro, who grew up in Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano's Brooklyn crew, had been seeking to get a judge to put an early cap on his 70-year sentence. He was convicted in 2003, and his lawyers are using chronology to Huck's benefit, arguing that so much time has passed that he has transformed himself into a new person who is not a violent criminal with a Gambino button. Today, Huck, quote, is a simple convict doing his time, trying to improve himself, and attempting to maintain relationships with his large, loving, and ever-growing family. Huck also is a long-time made member of the Gambino family who would have true power were he to return to the street. Sources note, saying that Huck could have an army waiting for him if he chose to embrace his old life. Huck is a very violent individual, and his nephew Tommy Dono has a lot of childhood friends who are all prison-hardened and real blue-collar criminals, said one source. Kevin Granado also has a lot of followers from his Colombo days. All these guys are extremely dangerous and will follow Huck's orders. Huck's nephew, Tommy Dono, 47, who was proposed for membership in the Gambino family in 2001, was released from prison this past April following a 15-year sentence. Huck's nephew-in-law, Kevin Granado, 61, is a former Colombo associate who was part of Greg Scarpa's crew, spent about 30 years in prison for drug dealing and racketeering, and is likely a made member of the Gambino family today, allegedly. Dono was proposed for induction in 2001 as a reward for participating in the murder of Frank Heidel, who was killed in April of 1988 while leaving a Staten Island strip club. Some were concerned that Heidel, a suspected informant, would talk about the 1997 Super Bowl Sunday slaying of construction foreman Frank Parasoli in a Brooklyn social club. Parasoli, who wasn't supposed to die, bled to death after Laterio DiCarlo shot him in the ass. DiCarlo was furious with Parasoli, who he believed forced him to do actual work on a construction site when DiCarlo thought he was giving a no-show job. Granado has been affiliated with the Gambinos possibly since his 2013 release from prison, sources say, noting that he is likely a made Gambino member today. Another source echoed what we've been hearing, saying Granado was from Scarpa Jr.'s crew and is a very dangerous guy. And Tommy Dono, also very dangerous, a real criminal, very well respected by real criminals. When I say real criminals, it's beyond the bookmakers and drug dealers and guys who extort using the reputation of the crime family. I mean guys that will actually use a gun to rob and don't have to get someone in a car or a basement to kill them. They will kill you in the middle of traffic. He noted that one of Granado's murders is Albert Albi Variali, who was killed on 86th Street and 20th Avenue in front of hundreds of witnesses. And Dono was convicted for the Frankie Heidel murder. They are both on the street, with Granado a confirmed full member and Dono was proposed is more than likely a made member. Granado and others in the Scarpa crew were charged in 1987 with conspiring to control drug dealing in Brooklyn and Staten Island following an 18-month probe by the Joint DEA Task Force, which was composed of federal, state, and city narcotic investigators. Gravano generated extensive media coverage about a decade into his prison sentence when he was charged with smuggling his semen out of federal prison to impregnate his wife. You can't make this shit up, man. In 2003, Gravano and his wife pled guilty to charges. They used a cryogenic sperm kit to smuggle sperm out of Allenwood to a New York fertility clinic. Gravano got another 16 months in prison added to his sentence. Sammy the Bull's Punk Podcast. Sammy the Bull mentioned Huck in a recent podcast, and sources talked about what some of Gravano's former cohorts thought. Unsurprisingly, they aren't fans and say basically that Sammy is full of shit. Sammy claimed that he helped Huck, and that's why Huck only got 10 years. Huck was charged with conspiracy to commit murder. The murder never happened, and the max was 10 years, and that's what he got. Also, Sammy was asked what he would have done if he'd seen Huck in Phoenix, and Sammy said, "I would have shot him in the head." Huck thought that Sammy was going to say that they were still friends, and when Sammy told the Phoenix paper that he would send a lot of body bags back to New York, guys on the street, Huck included, laughed at him. They also had him marked as a punk, as he had only killed one guy, and it was his childhood friend. He supposedly let Frankie DeChico kill his brother-in-law. Any other wise guy would have told the brother-in-law to run away. Only a punk would bring him in. As usual, another great story by Ed Scarpo, Cosa Nostra News. The link will be found in the description box. Anyway, great story. Like, comment, and share. Let me know what you're smoking on. Let me know what city you're smoking in, and we will talk soon. Salute.